Mario Andretti, perhaps the most accomplished and diverse driver in the world. He won in every major series he competed in, including Formula One, IndyCar, and NASCAR. At 80 years old, Mario is still a staple at the racetrack with more energy than ever. Here, he talks about the different series he competed in, the danger factor during his era behind the wheel, and how the Andrettis came to be such an iconic American racing family. Here's Off Track with Mario Andretti. Another legend. This man has done it all. Mario Andretti, I mean, from IndyCar, Formula One, NASCAR, you have won. And not many people can say they've done that before, Mario. So I'm so excited to learn about some of the stories and go back to where it all started with you. And welcome to Off Track.
Well, thanks for having me on, Jamie. Where do you want to start? In 1888?
Actually, I was going to tap back into those early days, Mario. You have quite a story. Obviously, you've been in America for many, many years since you were a younger boy. But, take me back to where it all began for you with racing and your love for racing and where it started here in America.
Well, basically, the love for racing started when I was still in Italy. My brother Aldo and I, we became enamored with the sport at a very young age. Of course, Italy being prominent in Formula One, Ferrari, Maserati, I always say it, Alfa Romeo, and current world champions in the 50s. But then when we arrived to the States, in Nazareth, where I am right now, we arrived on a Thursday, and it was June, so the season was on, the racing season. And Lord and behold, we're at my Uncle Tony's house, and Sunday night, big lights in the background, big roar all of a sudden, and Aldo and I just booked, and we discovered a half-mile dirt track, something very foreign. We didn't know much about dirt tracking, except for a film that we saw in 1951, which was To Please a Lady with Clark Gable, Barbara Stanwyck, which was about the road to Indianapolis. So there's some dirt tracks, but it looks so foreign. So here, we figure, oh gosh, here it is. And then the cars look, so brute, but look doable. So 2 years later, we started building our own car. And 2 years after that, we started driving at age 19. And my career started at age 19. And my last race was in 2000. I did 24 hours of Le Mans.
What a career. And you mentioned your brother, your twin brother, and he raced as well for quite some time. See him around the track many, many times. But take me back to Nazareth. Why and when did your family decide coming to America that was going to be your place?
Well, in 1952, we were in contact with some family that we had here on my mother's side, and it was suggested that why don't you come to America, because we were in a refugee camp, based in a refugee camp in our own country after the war, because we were displaced from our home because Italy lost that part of the territory. So things were not going so well, obviously, and then my uncle suggested to my dad, why don't you come to America? So my dad applied for visas in 1952. 3 years later, the visas came through. He almost forgot about it. He figured, we're going to America. And then we wound up here in Nazareth because based on the visa, you had to have a guarantee that you're coming to a home, someone that obviously will be responsible and will have a job for my dad and all of that sort of thing. And again, I settled here, and I'm the only one of the offspring that stayed here. Everybody else migrated. My sister to Florida, Aldo to Indianapolis, and my kids, the only one, my grandson, is my neighbor, my noisy neighbor. He bought Michael's house, where he was born, actually. Right here in Nazareth, but I stayed here and I love it, and I guess I'll be here for the rest of my life.
I love it. Your noisy neighbor. I always see Marco texting and posting photos of where you guys live. I love that you can tell how much respect he has for you, Mario, and that you mean so much to him. What's it been like just being a grandfather and being a father of racers. You've created these racers, and to see what they've accomplished in their careers, what's that been like?
Well, there's a lot of pride because we're very, very close family. We call ourselves the crazy Andrettis. And we all text each other. When we text each other, 17 of us, pretty much get it. And but it's wonderful, between the families. And talk about Marco, he himself. I mean, he's always shown that quality, very much close to the family and having that solid base and love for it. So again, yeah, it's wonderful to have him as a neighbor here. And again, you could see that there's 8 of us racers basically between the two families, 4 and 4, and so we got third generations going on both Aldo's side and my side. So we love the sport, as you can imagine. That's what we know, and that's what we love, and that's what is enriching our lives, quite honestly.
What has been maybe your most proud moment, just standing back and watching, whether it's your son or your grandson and what they've accomplished?
Jamie, there've been many, actually many, because as a family, we were able to share together. Like, when it comes to racing, I'll stay with the racing at the moment because, for instance, Michael and I, we were on podium in an IndyCar race 15 times and started on the front row 10 times and finished 1, 2, 5 times, So events like that, 4 of us, 4 members of the same family, 2 years in a row at Indianapolis, 91 and 92, which never happened before or since. In 1986, I got to tell you this, in 1986, at the Pocono 500, Jeff was younger son Jeff was driving the ARS Indy Lights supporting event. He was on pole for that, and he won that supporting event. Michael was on pole for the 500, and I won the 500. Between the 3 of us, now nobody talked about it, but we celebrated. So these are moments that's so precious. When you look back, racing has given us so much over the years as a family. It brought it all, kept us all together, which would have been anyway, but even more, because we had this common interest and support, from our gals, 100%, which obviously is everything. And so again, I always say we count our blessings every day.
Mario, one moment that really stands out to me was the Indianapolis 500. I believe it was Marco's first 500, and he came so close. Do you remember? There's a photo of us standing in the pit box side by side, and somebody, it may have been you, jumping up and down, knocked the power out, so we lost timing and scoring. Do you remember this?
Oh gosh, I mean, can you imagine? Here was 3 laps to go, just after a yellow, and you got Marco and Michael running first and second. And, and of course, with Michael and Lee, and Marco then passed him. And then here comes Hornish, like a hurricane, and it goes by both of them. But the excitement was there, as you can imagine, because, at Indy, we as a family, we've been trying so hard and so many close opportunities. But, it's always left us a little bit dry at the end. But nevertheless, it wasn't from lack of effort. And, yeah, it was, again, those were incredible moments. I was watching even Marco's sister, Marissa, she was there, and all of a sudden I saw the disappointment. It was, oh my goodness. I said, how can we survive all this? But we do.
It was the full range of emotions, all within like 20 or 30 seconds.
Yeah, I know.
So you said, it's left the Andretti's high and dry, and there is something that people call the Andretti Curse when it comes to the 500. But you went to victory lane. You won it in 69. But I want to ask you about the one that doesn't necessarily count in the rule book. Show me that ring and tell me about that story with Unser, Mario.
Well, it was just one of those events that basically by rule, but the rule book, I won that race, no question. It's just that the fact that the way it worked out, they all realized that even after going through depositions for 6 months, that he committed infraction. The only difference that USAC allowed 3 judges to come in and make the final decision, outside judges, and they came up with the answer that, well, under the circumstances, the penalty was too severe, so they fined him $40,000 and gave him the race back. Now, here's it gets better, because the following year, after the drivers' meeting, I asked Tom Binford, race director at the time, I said, Tom, I said, just for my information, I said, are the rules different this year from last year? He said, no, the rules are the same. So I said, hypothetically, if I pass 11 cars under the yellow and cross the finish line first, is the fine still $40,000? Oh, no. He says, I said, okay, so the rule book will apply this year, but it didn't last year. So, but it wasn't his fault. He says, Mario says it was out of my hands. I penalized him by the rule book, but it was overridden. So, and it's one thing that, I know I don't blame Roger Penske or Bobby Unser for trying to do whatever they could to get it back. I blame USAC, however, as a sanctioning body, to allow an outside force to come in and make that decision, because their lawyer was much better than USAC's lawyer. And
so we're talking.
It was won by a lawyer.
Wow. So we're talking about the 1981 Indy 500, of course. So Bobby Unser, he got penalized 1 lap, which then said that you won the race. So the next day when they take the photos, you took the photo, right? And you got the ring.
Well, yeah, everything was fine. The only thing is that it was under protest, but still at the banquet, I got, I was, I was declared a winner and all of that. So did all the photos and all the things. And the only thing that they took back the keys to the pace car. I was going to give the pace car to my brother, Aldo. Oh. I gave him the keys that night. And then I said, Aldo, I need the keys back. They want the keys back.
Oh, my gosh.
The race is under protest, which is, it's part of the rules. You're allowed to protest, something like that. But we didn't know that, I guess Roger Penske had a pretty sharp lawyer that came on there and pretty much intimidated the locals there. So they got their way.
So did you get a baby Borg or no?
I got the baby Borg last year for the 50th anniversary.
Really?
Yeah, from 1969, 2019. So, and I've been talking about it and everything. So, and finally they found a reason to give me one. And I love it. I treasure it, as you can imagine.
Yes, of course, and your 2 rings. So let's go back to your career was so interesting because you kind of weaved from one series to the next. Like Formula One, you weren't a full-time driver, but your career spanned over many years. You won the championship. Take me back to that, because you told me when you were born in Italy, that's where your love for racing began, Mario. So how did you make it to Formula One?
Well, clearly, that was in the back of my mind, Jamie. I was, just to give you an idea what Formula One was when it was in my head. Even I was in a midget race in 1963 in Hatfield, Pennsylvania. I was getting ready to be pushed off. And what's going through my head? Dan Gurney that just got a ride in Formula One with Ferrari. Why was I thinking of that? So deep down, I always felt somewhere in my career, Formula One would have to be a player. And I remember in '65 when Jim Clark won, and of course I befriended him and Colin Chapman at the banquet when I got Rookie of the Year. Finished 3rd. We were getting doing our goodbyes, and I said to Colin, Colin, someday I would like to do Formula One. And he said, Mario. He says, when you think you're ready, you call me and I will have a car for you. And sure enough, 3 years later, in 68, I called him. I said, Colin, I would like to do the last two races of the season, the Italian Grand Prix and the USGP, which were the last two races. He said, got it. And so we were in Monza testing. And so he had a car for me, but at Monza there was kind of a trick. There was a 24-hour rule in play, which was going to be waived. It was agreed it was going to be waived by the organizers and also the arm of the FIA in Italy, because I had to come back and drive in a Hoosier 100, the dirt race, on a Saturday, qualify in Monza Friday, come back, race Saturday at the Hoosier 100, and go back for the race in Monza on Sunday. And I did that. Actually, I talked Bobby Unser into go. I got him a ride with BRM so we could do some slipstreaming, qualifying on Friday, to just get the speed up there. Because in those days, you every time you were on the track, your time was good enough for qualifying. In other words, you could set a quickest time on Friday or Saturday, whenever you did. And so we only had the one practice session out of 4 on Friday to get our qualifying in, and we did. In fact, when we got back, I was 7th on the grid, but there was a protest, and we'll never know. I think it was Ferrari because they were all Italians at the on this meeting they had, and did not allow me in, and Colin Chapman couldn't speak a word of Italian anyway. So anyway, they had my car on the grid, but they won't let us start. That's why my debut was at Watkins Glen. And the following race, which was my first race, and I put the car on pole there, over Jackie Stewart. But anyway, as you said, that the reason that, and I was in 71 when I won my very first Formula One race for Ferrari in South Africa, I was offered a factory ride, but my commitments were here, and with Firestone and so forth. So technically, I really couldn't afford, even financially, couldn't afford to do that, give everything that we had going here. So I figured my day is going to come. And I did a part-time for a few years until I decided in 1975, I said, now it's the time in my career to do it full-time. And I started out with Parnelli Jones, and Bell Melchich, with a U.S. effort, which, was not very good. But in 76, I connected with Colin Chapman, and that's when things started really going. So 76, 77, 78 was really 3 good years for me. And that's when we were obviously winning with 77, 78 especially, 2 years in a row, like 77, that should have been an easier championship even than 78 with the car we had. But we had a lot of engine failures. Cosworth were doing a lot of experimenting with my engines, which, was not really a good thing to do. But nevertheless, my ultimate goal was accomplished, to win the world championship there and in 78. And then, as fate would have it, my very last race, I was a substitute for Didier Pironi at Ferrari in 82. And I was asked to go to Monza, to do the Grand Prix there. And basically, and I put the car on pole there, after being out of Formula One for over a year. And so that was incredibly satisfying. But the meaning was, great meaning that I won my first Formula One race with Ferrari, and my last experience was also with Ferrari, and being on pole. So great moments.
So your F1 career spanned from 68 basically to 82. You won the 78 championship. What was that whole era like? You see these Formula One movies, Mario, that Ayrton Senna and Rush, they take you back to those moments, and really how dangerous and how many drivers were being killed throughout those years. What was it like as a driver, especially now looking back?
Well, we knew what we knew at the time. Obviously, I think the safety aspect was a work in progress for some time, even when the drivers, when we organized just for the safety reasons, tracks and the cars, and it took a while to get to the point that obviously we're enjoying today. But again, in those days, we knew that it was there, not only there, but here as well. Look how many guys we were losing. I remember in the 60s, you know, sometimes by the end of the year, we lose 4 to 6 guys, you know, throughout the, you know, I always say it was like the beginning of the season was like going to the drivers' meeting, like going to war. You know, I figure at the end of the season, I wonder, you know, who's going to be here. And Formula One, unfortunately, had a lot of the same issues, fires and all of that. And yeah, it was tough. But, you know, as drivers, you had to just accept the fact that the risk was there and it's not going to happen to you and all those things. I mean, the mindset was that you don't dwell on those things. Otherwise, you just stay home, you know. But I thought that, you know, we were the ones that survived it. Obviously, we're very lucky. You know, it's interesting. AJ Foyt, every time we just come together, he looks at me, I look at him, he says, you know, I can't believe we're both still standing, you know, because so many of our peers, you know, are not here, you know, from those decades. And so that's why, like I said, I keep saying, that's why I'm counting my blessings every day, because I dodged a lot of bullets along the way and I got away with it.
Yeah, absolutely. AJ Foyt's definitely one I look at. That guy has more than 9 lives.
Yeah.
So tell me about your NASCAR career. It actually was 14 starts, but you managed to win the 1967 Daytona 500, Mario. How does this guy who was born in Italy with dreams of Formula One end up getting a chance to race for such a great team at the time in NASCAR?
Well, the reason that I was able to just say race with such a great team was my relationship with Ford, which started in '65 at Indy when obviously we were one of the first teams to have the new double overhead engine, you know, and then I won quickly 2 consecutive national championship with it and all that, and then I was part of the Le Mans program, you know, which actually really worked well for me to learn the road racing skills to get into Formula One. So a lot of that. So I had a good relationship with Ford, fabulous, in fact, even, you know, through the Le Mans program. And so whenever I would ask, they said, okay, I'd like to do, like, say, Daytona. Yes. So they put me with, you know, their factory team, you know, Holman and Moody. And things just happened to gel. You know, the car was right. Obviously, you know, I had driven the year before for Smokey Yunick, you know, but he was, he hired me because he wanted to experiment with somebody that doesn't know diddly about setups. So he was throwing some setups on me that, I tell you what, I said, I don't know how these people drive these cars, because my car, I was like on a pogo stick around the corners of those banks. And I knew the banks well because I used to do a lot of testing with sports cars, and we used to do the banks flat at 200 plus miles an hour, you know, so I knew the banks. But I said, man, these cars, and then when I got into the Holman and Moody car, I said, oh, it's a race car. Now I get the feel. And then, so at the beginning, it started out that I was not getting the engines and all that. But when I probably got the proper engine, you know, for the qualifier, I was flying, you know, that the fact is, what worked for me was that I didn't have very good engines in practice and for the single qualifying. And so because of that, I ran with a smaller rear spoiler to get the revs. And and the car was kind of neutral to loose, you know, but I figured, okay, that's all I got. And then when I finally realized, then I complained and all of that, and John Hallman went to bat for me, and I got the proper engine. And then all of a sudden, I'm practicing, I'm scuffing tires faster than pole position was with Curtis Turner.
Oh my gosh.
I figured, oh my God, but now, if I can keep the car on the track, you know, because the car was so loose with a small spoiler. And so But the car was mechanically, though, it was something that, any driver will tell you, a loose car is the worst thing, but it was a loose that I could control. I had a feel for. And I had to make sure that I don't get, too many guys get caught up with the guys on the outside of me, because it would have turned me around. So if you look a lot of the film, I was right in the top, most of the time, or that's what I was doing. So I had to sort of drive accordingly, and somehow I got away with it. But I was quick. I was fast during the race itself, because I took the lead quite early, and I was with leaders the whole race. And then, of course, my teammate Fred Lorenzen finished second to me at the end. And even though they, on the last stop, they were making some changes that I didn't need, so we came in together to let him go out first. And but caught him and got by him. And anyway, I had the car to win, and that was incredibly satisfying, as you can imagine.
And you dominated. You led more than half of that race. So what was the reaction, Mario, when you walked away with the Daytona 500 win, knowing you were an outsider?
Well, at the beginning it was, it's not well received by the drivers, because, can you imagine having Richard Petty or David Pearson coming to Indianapolis and winning there? You know what I mean? So, you have to suck it up. And so it was not, but throughout the years, though, you make friendships, and then I think the respect comes along somewhere along the line. And again, I feel so as close to the NASCAR family as I feel, with any other of the racing organizations. Like, I go to Formula One, I feel like, that's my other family. Go to sports cars, go, and IndyCar. So the whole, the motor racing in general, it is, like I said, one big family that, again, there's camaraderie, and the main thing is to have the respect. Again, for me to have the opportunity to do and have a taste of the different disciplines was just something that, even my wife used to say, do you have to really do that? Do you need to do that? I said, yeah, I do. So she would support me, because she knew just how much I wanted to do that. But for me, Jamie, to be able to go from a dirt car, from a dirt race to Formula One, like within a week or something, that was, to me, that was the thing that I figure, I don't know how many drivers will ever have the chance to do that. And I don't think up to now, none have had that chance. So, and yet, a lot of people would say, especially when in Formula One, they're a big skeptic about American drivers and all of that. And so they felt, well, wait until it's a wet race, Yeah. But honestly, I think dirt track racing taught me a lot about, searching for grip, changing, your line through the corners, you're always searching for grip. This is what you do on the wet. And so you can imagine applying something from dirt track racing to Formula One in the wet. So it serves you. I think Kenny Roberts was the same thing. Like they said, in motorcycles, he and I won the world championship the same year in '78. He won MotoGP and I won Formula One. But, he said, wait until it rains. Well, you know what? The way, on the short tracks, the way he was, you ride sideways with a bike, he could, in the rain, he didn't know which way he went. You know what I mean? So, again, don't underestimate us so much sometimes, Yeah. But again, to be able to experience these different disciplines, I think it really helped me tremendously in understanding a lot of the characteristics of the car, what you really want. So on top of just deriving great satisfaction, because I had really the good fortune to be with top teams. As you say, you can't do it without that, obviously. But when I was in Formula One, who was I with, when I did all my scoring, was either with Lotus or Ferrari. I have driven for others, but and this is a top team. It's the same thing as if one of our young talents today would have the opportunity to go with Mercedes or Red Bull or Ferrari to be, to be able to, to be able to demonstrate the potential skills. So I had that going for me, and again, there's nothing like being able to bring the results home, to be able to give you that confidence that, I belong here and I keep doing it. And let's face it, that's what motivates you.
It's amazing. Those opportunities, like you said, they really don't exist today, but I would love to see some drivers get that opportunity, a dirt racer, a guy from NASCAR, a guy from IndyCar. I know like Dan Weldon, his dream was always to be an F1, but the opportunities just weren't there. So I want to know, through all these different series, Mario, that you competed in, are there any competitors or one in particular that stands out to you in the battles you guys had, or somebody that you just respected quite a lot?
Well, always, Jamie. Almost every discipline you go into, you got somebody that sets the mark. And when I first broke into Formula One, who was the guy? The guy was Jackie Stewart, and he was current world champion. When I broke into IndyCar, who was the guy? It was AJ Foyt, and all of that. So. But along the way, there are others. But again, there's always someone that's going to be better than you, which actually elevates you because you work harder, to try to obviously better yourself. If I'm going to compete against someone like that, I better work hard. I better find out what in the world they're doing that I'm not doing. Mm-hmm. So it's something that's it's an inspiration. We inspire one another, and it's just the drivers that are better than you are the ones that make you better. So I've had plenty of that, plenty of drivers to look up to along the way in all the different decades that help me understand, what I need to do more. And again, that's how it works.
Was there one series or one type of race car in particular that was the most challenging for you to adapt to?
I think probably the stock cars, because coming from the open wheel cars, you have a tendency to overdrive the stock cars, especially, on the shorter tracks or something like that, because, they're heavier and all of that. And I think some of the open wheel drivers that migrate there will tell you the same thing. But other than that, it's all about really understanding what's going on. When I first, I had the opportunity to be in stock cars, I just didn't have the luxury of really understanding the chassis, the setups and all of that enough. And I remember that one guy that really, really understood it was Cotton Owens. When I drove for him, alongside of Pearson, and I know that he put me in a Charger, which was a bit squirrely because of the aerodynamics, the slope back of the car. And it was a Daytona for the 400 miler, what they called it, the Coca-Cola 400 or something. Yeah. And anyway, and it's amazing that every time we come, he would watch, my line through the banking and so forth. I come in and he makes some changes to the car, and I said, how do you know, And it was awesome because he was really able to really help me. And then we were, here again, the 400 miler, the firecracker 400, I guess they call it at the time. That's another race that I think I could have won, but we blew an engine because I was flying, But like I said, most other type of cars I could understand and do better myself. The stock cars were the tough ones to really try to understand because I just didn't have the luxury to do testing. That's the point.
Right. All right, Mario, everything that you've done, the 4 championships in IndyCar, Indy 500, Formula One championship, Daytona 500, what's the one thing that you've accomplished that in your mind was the most enjoyable, the one thing that really stands out to you?
Oh gosh, you're putting me in a box because championship are championships. I mean, they're so golden. I have to look back though, as where this all began, where my impossible dream began. And that is to be a world champion, because my first idol was Alberto Ascari. In mid-50s, he was president at the time, world champion. And I said, God, please God, if I could be just a little bit like Alberto Ascari, that's all I will ever ask you in my life. And to win that, and to win the Italian Grand Prix, all of this, where it all started, has to really be right at the top for me.
Yeah. Did you ever get to meet him, by the way?
No, he was killed actually pretty much at the same time that year when we came to America. But I got to induct him into International Hall of Fame and present it to his son, Antonio. 2 years after I was inducted, actually. But what a thrill, what a wonderful thing. You talk about coming full circle. I had that opportunity. So a lot of good things.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time, Mario, for all the wonderful stories. We could talk for hours because it's amazing. You remember every moment, I think, of your career.
I do remember, yeah. It was that much it was very meaningful to me every moment, so I'm surprising myself how much I remember sometimes.
Mario, 80 years old, and I swear you don't stop. You're at the racetrack every weekend. You're on social media following every other series. It's very impressive. You're an inspiration, and thank you for your time.
I love the sport.
Thank you, Mario. That was awesome.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, Jamie.
Really good to talk to you. I'm sure I'll see you at the 500 then.
At the 500.
All right. Thank you. Telling me thank you very much.
Thank you. Love you.
All right. Bye.
Wait. What's just a moment?
Oh, look at. Oh my gosh. I have to get a picture of you.
Okay, now what you want?
Oh my God, that is so funny. I'm glad we're still recording on this. That is amazing. So what was the reason he gave that to you?
Oh, because, it's a long story. We were in Vegas to see my show, and then somehow he was supposed to be at the Magnaflow booth.
Oh, right.
And they got mixed up with the time, so I covered for him. And so when he came over, to apologize, I took his hat off, and I have a photo, the only photo ever that I have with him without a hat. So then he sent it to me.
Oh, that is awesome.
The glasses are autographed.
That is awesome.
Oh, a sweet guy,
He is. I think he told me that he may sleep with those sunglasses and hat too. They never come off. Thank you. That was awesome. We'll see you, Mario.
See you.